Super simple one today. It's just going to do planche and front lever. I don't have much time, so I'm going to just get straight into it. I'm going to warm up through my scapula, do some protraction holds, just do some scapular stuff, do some wrist warm up. I'm going to warm up my hips to go into more of a straddle position, because the goal is to get to a decent straddle planche and a decent straddle flat back front lever position. I'm just going to be aiming for around the 5 to 10 second mark in terms of the holds, and I'm going to get as many sets as I can in the time I have. So I'm going to show you how I warm up, and I'm going to progress through some different entries into planche just to mix it up. Let's get the dog out of the way. That's going to be the session today. So jump in, do the same as normal. So whichever progression you can get to, build up to it. If you're new to it, stick with some of the earlier progressions. If you're beyond where I am, just advance the tuck planche position to a straight back, to a frog position, to a straddle, to a half lay, maybe to a flat open straddle position, to a full planche if you have it. Same in the front lever. Okay, let's jump in. So I've already done a bit of a wrist warm up, so I'll do that a little bit more. I'm going to play around with having the hands out to the side, so sort of this position with my hands. I'm going to go up into a protraction position, but I'm going to keep warming. Rosie, you're just trying to be in front of the camera all the time. I'm just going to warm up the straddle at the same time. So I'm going to go protraction holds, but also into a like straddle split position to warm up the hips. Rosie. So for the front lever, I'm going to do similar. I'm just going to warm up into a very easy position. So quite a rounded back, tuck. So have the hips. Rosie, really? So I'm going to have the hips roughly in line with the shoulders, maybe a little bit higher to start with just for my warm up. And just do some longer holds. And I'm also using the fatter bar today. Now I'm going to go into my first planche hold now. Now, if you don't have a comfortable tuck planche, obviously don't start there. You could use a banded assist to get to the tuck planche. But I'd just recommend, if you don't have a tuck planche yet, you should be working on your warm-up, more protraction hold. So I'll be working things like this. So holding a protracted position. So here, and then walking in and coming back again. So having light toes. And holding things like this protracted hold there. If you're a bit more comfortable with it and you can do a tuck planche, go into a tuck planche. But as it's still part of the warm-up, holding for longer time. So then with the front lever, I'm going to go into more of an open position. So I'm going to try and take my knees away from my chest, but I'm going to keep my heels at my butt. And I'm going to go for around 10 to 15 second hold. So again, if that's hard for you, stay in that tuck position, have the hip a little bit higher. Now, because the last one felt okay for me in that tuck planche position, I'm going to go straight into a higher hip straddle. So another option, you could just go to that flat back position, or if you have it, just do what I'm doing and go into a straddle position, but have the hip a little bit higher, which is slightly easier than the open hip position. Okay, same for the front lever. Going to go into straddle position, but again, if you're not quite there, go to flat back. Just take the knees as far away from the chest as you can, but try and keep the heels at the butt, or keep the hip at the same level. So hip roughly in line with the shoulder. If anything, that's slightly higher, so you have a bit of a buffer. So now I'm going to have a little play because I've warmed up now. I'm going to have a little play with the entries to the straddle planche, and I'm going to progressively try and make the straddle planche flatter and flatter. So what I mean by that is I don't have the hip up in the air. So I'm going to try and bring the hip down and open, and then the feet will come up a little bit, but the hip should be aiming to get in line with the shoulders. That's the goal. This is what I'm working on. We'll see what happens. Now with the front lever, I'm going to aim for a half lay position. So this is where I keep the hip fully open, but I bend the knees. So next one, I'm going to press up into handstand, into straddle position, and then lower. So if you do have a freestyle handstand and you have a planche of some sort, have a go at lowering to that position. So whatever you have, I'm going to try and stick with the straddle position, but you could do this in tuck, so you could go straight to tuck planche. Now for the front lever, I'm going to go into a full position, so straight position up with my legs against the bar, and then I'm going to lower, try and down into a flat position, so hips in line with shoulders. I'm probably going to have to open into straddle, probably into a tuck eventually, so if I don't hold the time, we'll see what happens. So that was the session today. So straight arm push, straight arm pull, planche and front lever. I'm now going to play around with the planche a little bit more. I'm going to do some one arms and then go into planche from there. I'm going to play with some presses into planche. And I'm just going to try again, maxing out my front lever. Be interesting to watch the video back to see where my hips are. One of the things are, if you are videoing for your planche or your front lever, try and set the camera up so it's the same height as your shoulders, just so you can get a accurate representation of where the hip is relative to the shoulder. So send me a message or put it down in the comments if you have any questions. Thumbs up and subscribe would be appreciated, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks, guys.